Inspiration, it comes everywhere. Keep a running log. I can't stress that enough. There are so many ways to keep an ongoing log, and it's going to come in handy. I can't tell you how many times, every project I get, every new design I have to make, I pull from my huge log that I have. With that, I want to transition into a project I created last year. I think it'd be interesting to show you the process from concept to completion. Each design is a new challenge, and you're there to solve a problem. For this particular project, I was asked to be the lead designer and rebrand the Notre Dame football package. My first challenge was how conservative Notre Dame has been in past years. They have very strict guidelines on how they want to be represented. My mission was to stretch the boundaries and push them out of their comfort zone while staying within the budget, which is another challenge. The budget is one of those nuances that affect the final project. It tells you how many hours you can spend on your design. So while brainstorming your ideas, you have to keep that in mind. So the first thing I do is research. I research what other big networks have done in their college football packages, why they were successful, why they weren't successful. I ask myself, what are the latest trends and ideas? So I made a little presentation and that I had to show to the producers. I use ESPN, CBS, Fox, and TBS. And then I went back to my inspiration file. I started pulling images of colors, textures, ideas that interest me. I write down words that evoke college football: youth, playful, bright colors, locker room, team. I open them up and see how I can make a graphics package out of all of this. So this is the mood board that I used. And I looked at the words, the shapes, the colors. I see how they can interact with each other. I find similarities, and I grow upon each shape. When I get stuck, I go talk with my art director, and we just riff back and forth. Having people to talk to creates so many more options. In the broadcast world, you have to think long-term too. Like, what idea has the most legs that year after year you can keep adding to the package, but maintain a consistent look? Because unfortunately, every year you can't do a new package. There's no budget for it, there's no time for it. So you have to think years to come, what can I do to maintain this? So you find your design, you break it down, and you put it back together again to make sure it has the ability to hold up. Next, you sketch. You get your ideas down on paper. As you can see, my concerns that I had back in college about my drawing abilities haven't held me back in my current role. Along the way, I try to simplify, make it a little more abstract instead of so literal. I was using lockers, so I turned to plain cubes. Now it's just a cube. Like, what's so special about this cube? So I go and I look up examples of cubes. Do I want it to open like a suitcase? Do I want it to open from one side, all sides? I sit with another designer at this point. He comes on board to start helping me, and he's going to be doing the 3D for the project. I show him my crude sketches and my ideas for what I want this cube to be. He starts playing and figuring out a way to make this process of versioning each one as painless as possible. And when I say versioning, you're going to have to do this for every team that Notre Dame plays, this year, next year, the year after. So I go back to my producer with style frames and a more developed idea. I show him there are endless possibilities, and we aren't backing ourselves into a corner. We go back and forth with producers. We push the boundaries. Sometimes they rein us in, but we have to try. We are able to send them samples with animation. From there, we quickly start riffing off of our current approvals and are able to put together a new graphics package. So this is our first animation. And basically, the designer who was doing the 3D wanted to see how the logos were going to map, how the patterns were going to work, how's the lighting, how is our network logo going to look on these spinning cubes? Is it too much? So let's see. I put together a sizzle reel of some of my favorite elements from the package. While you're watching, also listen to the sound design. I got to work with an out-of-house recording studio, and it was a really cool experience. I sent them samples from the Transformers and Iron Man because I wanted these cubes to feel really heavy when they fell and moved into place. So this is where we ended. So that's kind of the whole Notre Dame package, or some of my favorite elements. And you can tell we used, there's some different teams in there to give you an idea of how a red team would look, how a blue team would look. Georgia was their first matchup, so I ended up using them for a lot of examples. But it was a really fun project, and this is one of the longer ones we get to work on. This was about maybe 2 to 3 months of work. The Olympics that we work on is definitely by far the heaviest build, and that we have designers who are already working on the next Olympics, and we'll have people slowly start joining them. But in this field, you don't have a long period of time to work on one graphic. There's always a new sporting event on TV, so you're constantly building and moving on, which is kind of nice if you don't like being stuck on one thing for too long. That's what I really enjoy about it. It's also really cool to work in a team. So I got to work with another designer who was really awesome, and with his technical capabilities, we were able to map tons of different logos and patterns on TV, and this is the first package we had that was kind of what we were doing here. So I just want to leave you with this. I love what I do, and I feel really fortunate that I get to go to work every day. No one has it all figured out, but we're working on it and continuously getting better. Don't forget why you started. Not every project is going to be fun. Sometimes it's a grind, but to see the finished project is such an accomplishment. And in my case, if you go to a bar with friends and you're watching a football game, it's really cool to be like, I did that, I made that. So, thank you.